In this lesson, I want to take a moment to review the options that are available to you to set up the software for these live lessons on your own machine. So if you go to the Deep Learning with TensorFlow Live Lessons page in GitHub, you will see here that there's an installation directory. And in the installation directory, there are a number of options provided depending on the particular system that you're working with. So there are Mac, Unix, and Windows installation instructions, as well as information for if you're considering using a GPU, probably an NVIDIA GPU, for training your models more quickly. So let's just pop into each of these sections in turn so you get a sense of what's possible. So there are detailed step-by-step instructions for running the code notebooks for all of these live lessons on a Mac. And so what these instructions do is they provide you with the tools to have Docker containers running on your own machine. Docker containers are awesome because they enable me to be sure that you have all of the dependencies you need to run the code. But at the same time, those dependencies won't clash with whatever software you already have installed on your machine. So that's why it's called a container. It contains these libraries and keeps them separate from everything else on your machine. From within that Docker container, a Jupyter notebook will pop up. So you'll see we'll be using Jupyter notebooks throughout these live lessons, as well as in my other live lessons. And so these are an interactive place where you can, pop out charts and look at your data interactively. It's a really fun way to work through any kind of, data science problem. So there are step-by-step instructions here for getting this Jupyter notebooks set up, running inside a Docker container on your own machine with all the dependencies like TensorFlow and the high-level TensorFlow API Keras running inside of it. There's also instructions for shutting that down and restarting it. And we go over each of these steps interactively in my Deep Learning with TensorFlow live lessons. So it doesn't seem like a great use of time to be stepping you through those again here. But if you run into any trouble just following these steps, check those out, the Deep Learning with TensorFlow live lessons. In the Deep Learning for Natural Language Processing live lessons, we also talk about training models on an NVIDIA GPU. So there's this separate set of instructions there. And in those live lessons, again, we walk through all of the steps individually there. So you can check that out if you run into any trouble. On a Unix box, you can simply follow the Mac OS step-by-step instructions. You'll find, those instructions will work very well for you. I also have some instructions here on Unix if you'd like to set up your own cloud instance. I have some rough notes for doing that. So maybe you're using Mac or Windows locally, but you want to set up a cloud instance for running your deep learning experiments, your data science experiments. In that case, there's instructions here for getting an Ubuntu instance set up in the cloud, and then you can access that from your local laptop and typically have access to a lot more power. Finally, though I don't have a lot of exposure to Windows machines, the community, the Deep Learning with TensorFlow community that has watched these live lessons before, have very kindly contributed a number of different sets of installation instructions. So if you have a 64-bit installation of Windows 10 Professional or Enterprise, for example, you can follow the full Docker container installation, which is analogous to the step-by-step instructions for Mac or Unix, Linux. There are also really simple step-by-step instructions if you've never heard of Anaconda being anything other than a snake, then you'll find these step-by-step instructions helpful for installing all of the dependencies that you need for these live lessons, except that in this case, it won't run in a Docker container separate from your other software installations. And similarly, if you are already comfortable with Anaconda or a similar Python 3 distribution like WinPython or Canopy, then you can install TensorFlow in a virtual environment as outlined in these instructions. So a few different options for Windows users, and this covers all of the major operating systems. So also, like these other people who have contributed to these instructions, feel free, if there's anything else that you'd like to add at home, to make a pull request and continue to grow these installation instructions to be more comprehensive than before. With these installation instructions behind us, up next we'll quickly do an overview of the requisite theory, and then right after that we will be using these installation instructions to build our own interactive generative adversarial network and deep reinforcement learning algorithms.